Welcome to the YouTube channel, Have You Not Read? This is the fourth video in a series on the truth about witchcraft and occultism. Now, before we get started, I do want to share with you a verse this morning from the Holy Scriptures. In Isaiah chapter 8, verse 19, it says, "And when they say to you, seek those who are mediums and wizards, who whisper and mutter, should not a people seek their God? Should they seek the dead on behalf of the living?" In the Old Testament, God told Israel, if you want to know wisdom, knowledge, salvation in the future, seek Him and not those who are wizards and sorcerers, which is what we've been looking at and we will continue to look at in this series. And we're going to look at today more depth into Wicca witchcraft and the many variations and avenues that are found within Wicca witchcraft. We'll take a look at some of the definitions and practices and systems of beliefs, as well as the many schools, if you want to use that word, and philosophical approach to witchcraft. And as we've quoted in the past, in previous videos, there is no real genuine authority in Wicca witchcraft, although they claim that they are a religion and they are recognized as a religion. Wiccans, we saw, are not Satanists. That's not a valid comparison, although they share some common occult practices. Now, most, if not all, give credence and a nod to Gerald Gardner, who brought Wicca to the forefront in the 1950s when he presented witchcraft as a native-based system of worship and not a system of evil and all that was associated with witchcraft in the earlier centuries. In 1938, he joined a group of Rosicrucians where he met a group that called themselves witches. And they initiated him into a witchcraft they called Wicca. As a result of his influence, laws against witchcraft in England were basically repealed in 1951. The group that initiated Gardner was called the New Forest Coven, and it was their beliefs and system that he used to form a tradition that is now known as Gardnerian Wicca, and it's in his book, Witchcraft Today. Now, from that, let's look at all the systems that can be found in contemporary witchcraft today. In his book, Witchcraft, Exploring the World of Wicca, Craig Hawkins lists the types of covens and associations that individuals within Wicca can belong to. And let me go through them. For covens, there are such as Church and School of Wicca, Church of Circle Wicca, Susan B. Anthony Coven. Some of the associations are Covenant of the Goddesses, Witches Anti-Defamation League, Witches International Craft Associates, Witches Leagues for Public Awareness. Now, the types of Wicca witchcraft that can be practiced, there is Algard, there is Alexandrian, there is American Celtic Wicca, there's the American Order of the Brotherhood of Wicca, there is Simri Wicca, there's Dianic Wicca, which is feminist, there is Gardnerian, there is Georgian, there is Reformed Congregation of the Goddess, and there is Sax Wicca. And those are the different types and groups that that are found within practicing Wicca witchcraft. Now, all these different covens and groups, there is a wide variety of beliefs and practices and rituals, but there are a few common traits and elements in these groups. They are all referred to as neo-paganism. William Schnoebelen, in his book, Satan's Little White Lie, Wicca, Satan's Little White Lie, lists the common areas of elements in witchcraft and paganism. And he listed these and defined them as such. A polytheistic worldview, usually a god-goddess pair. A belief in westernized reincarnation, no moving backward to incarnate as animals, just moving forward to be reborn as humans. A shamanic worldview similar to animism, the belief that all objects have life and souls, which includes strong ecological overtones and often an openness to some drugs. Most are militantly feminist and politically left-wing, even anarchistic, although there are exceptions. A do-your-own-thing morality, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. This often includes free sexual activity, at least, within the group. An Aquarian view of human destiny, the seedbed from which was grown much of the New Age movement. The notion that persons can evolve spiritually through their own efforts and ultimately attain either enlightenment or godhood. So we see clearly that for the overwhelming majority of witches, they are basically polytheistic, which is the belief in many gods, and we'll look at that again in a minute, and usually in a god and goddess pair. They hold to reincarnation and they reject resurrection. They believe all things have not only life, but souls, and have openness to using some drugs and freedom to practice any sexuality. They believe men and women can evolve spiritually apart from Jesus Christ and the God of the Bible. Now, from Craig Hawkins' book, let's look at some of their views and values, some of which I just listed. First and foremost for witches is the absolute necessity of experience. Witchcraft, we have seen in the past, has no theology or scriptures or doctrines because experience takes precedence over doctrine. And here's a quote from Aidan Kelly from his book, Crafting the Art of Magic. The craft is generally extremely anti-dogmatic in its approach. Although witches do believe many things, belief is not a requirement for membership or initiation. Rather, the expectation in the craft is that if a person goes through the training and experiences that the craft have to offer with an open mind, then personal transformations will in fact happen, and belief as such will be unnecessary, since the person will know that she or he has been changed. Wow. So you can believe in a multitude of things while practicing witchcraft. Now, let's look at a few of these things Wiccans can believe in, and what are probably most common amongst practicing Wiccans. Not all, but I would say the majority hold to what I'm going to share with you. First of all, they believe in what's called animism. Animism means that the life force is immanent within all creation. So the life force, they believe, is in all things, including inanimate objects. All things are sacred. Number two, in what they most of the Wiccans believe, is what's called pantheism. And that is the view that all is God or divine. And in other words, God is in all things, and all things are God, and God is all. Three, most Wiccans believe in what's called polytheism, and that is defined this way. It is defined by many witches. However, polytheism is not merely the belief in diverse deities, a pantheon of gods and goddesses, but also the belief that there are an infinite or at least incomprehensible number of levels of meaning and reality, the open metaphysic referred to earlier. In other words, the universe for them is filled with a multitude of gods and goddesses. And lastly, most Wiccans hold to what is called existentialism, which is they know by experience, feelings, and intuition rather than intellect. In other words, truth doesn't come from outside the body. It comes from within. It's an experience that you feel, something that happened to you and you experienced it. Now, these are just some of the concepts that a lot, if not most, Wiccans hold to. There are many others, but these are the most prominent ones. And as you can see, they are vastly different from what those of us who are Christians believe and hold to. Christianity, along with Judaism and Islam, are monotheistic religions, believing in only one God. Wiccan witchcraft believes in many gods. Now, next time we're going to take a look at some of the gods and goddesses that Wiccans believe in.